So I guess everybody here is excited to be here. Aren't you stoked? Yeah. Woo! Yeah, this is such an amazing event. We're going to see so many diverse things, and really, well, I come here for an inspiration. But before we go into that inspiration, I want to tell you something a bit serious. So just before I begin, you're probably wondering, who the hell is that guy on stage, and what is that thing called Metavisor? Who here doesn't know what Metavisor is? Please raise your hand. Okay, so I'm going to resolve that in the next 9 minutes and 23 seconds, and you're not alone, by the way, because nobody really knows what we are yet, but that's going to change very quickly. So what I'm going to talk about right now is actually something that affects each and every one of us, and it affects families all around the world, and that is basically about sickness and illness. And this is a serious topic, but I want to tell you the story from a perspective of some real person, and this is Lena. Lena, here in this picture, is 28 years old. She's 3 years pregnant. Sorry. That would be very miraculous. She's 3 years married. 20 years old, she's in marketing, and she's just really beginning her life, her married life, in a small family with her husband, and she's dreaming about the future. So they decide to begin developing their family, and Lena does get pregnant, not for 3 years, but she gets pregnant. But then suddenly something happens. What happens is that her mother is diagnosed with breast cancer. And when they do tests on her mother, they discover that she has BRCA1 gene. So obviously, Lena goes and gets tested. And as she does, not only does she have BRCA1 gene, she also has breast cancer. And this is when she's 2 months pregnant. So immediately, she's thrown into the mix of being both a patient and a caregiver. A caregiver for her mother, but also a patient herself. And her husband becomes a caregiver. And what happens is that, they get thrown into a mix of information. What do you do first thing when you get notified of something like this? You go online, and you go into Google, and you get overwhelmed with the 285 million results when you type in breast cancer. And you really don't know what applies to you. You don't know what's relevant, what's current. There's so much. There was the picture in the previous talk right now where you see this person and the TV and all coming at him. It's really like putting your face in front of a fire hose. And today it doesn't look like this anymore. It looks more like this. You go to Dr. Google and you get all these printouts. You start saving and you become a researcher. Now she has a lot of choices in front of her. Right? What does she do? Now this problem of information overload is not unique to her. E-patient Dave, as he's called today, put this as a challenge of information. Back in the 80s, you didn't have a lot of information. There was a lot of confusion. Today, we're way over at the other edge of the spectrum. We're very confused because of all the information. It's getting to that sweet spot, to that right balance between the amount of information and what you need. And e-patient Dave should know. Back in 2007, he went in for a routine X-ray of his shoulder, and he discovered that he had metastasized kidney cancer that was in his lungs, in his brain, and he had 24 weeks to live. He went online, and he discovered this community called ACOR. And in that community, he discovered the solution. And basically, going out and learning about this and getting from others this information allowed him to save his life. And in 2009, he became a patient advocate. And he's roaming around the world and talking to patients to become more social and more active. But he took action about this. So what should Lena do? Her choices are very complex. She wants to keep the baby. Her doctors first tell her that she should abort the child and begin immediately aggressive chemo. She needs to research what chemo can she do without affecting the fetus. So she eventually decides to actually go on with the pregnancy and do chemo at the same time until a stage where research suggests that it's going to be too dangerous. And that's what she does. So it's not just patients, though. You know, doctors don't have something very different in this. We're expecting doctors to be able to sift through as much as 5,000 published research per area of expertise of a doctor every year. Really, if you think about it, by the way, last week in the New York Times, there's this op-ed piece, Healing the Overwhelmed Physician. It will take their entire time just to do justice to understand what's going on with the state of the art. What they have to do is take these 5,000 published research, hundreds of clinical trials that are going on, and all their patients, hundreds of patients, and they need to figure out what information applies to who. Why are we even expecting them to be able to do that? So, and the most frustrating situation is when the patient brings out that Google printout that they found on the internet and they believe is going to be useful. The problem is that 90% of that is irrelevant. So they waste their precious 15 minutes with the doctor, and the doctor needs to go to page 29 and show them why that research isn't relevant for them. That's very disheartening. So the problem is actually huge. 5,000 people each day are diagnosed with diabetes, 4,500 at least with cancer. In fact, there's 133 million just Americans that have one or more chronic conditions, and 75% of our $2.76 trillion of healthcare costs are for these chronic people. So if we would reimagine this, how would we do this afresh? Well, first of all, the solution would have to be very intuitive. It'll have to be something that users, doctors could all have a good experience with. Next, the first thing people want is to get the state of the art. They don't want to know about the 285 million results that include everything from the Dark Ages and all the quacks. They just want to know what is the state of the art of treating my condition. And it's me. It's not anybody else. It has to be my age, my other comorbidities or other sicknesses, everything else I have going for me, and what I'm up to. And then I'd like to get updated. Just that right information, all the types of information, anything that's new, something that I could trust in a way that I could understand and act on it. Really, I want to get the peace of mind that somebody's taking care of me. And how could you do that? It's a combination of doctors, technology, and patients. So that's basically what MedAdvisor has done. And I'd like you to know about it because it's a free service available today. Today we deal with 5 medical conditions. We're adding several very important conditions soon. We have breast cancer, prostate cancer, colorectal cancer, diabetes, melanoma, and we're adding cardiovascular disease and lung cancer next month. But you could sign up even out of these conditions, and we'll just let you know the minute we support it. So you sign up for the free service. You fill in a medical profile. The whole idea is that why should I search for information? The information should come to me in a push basis. And I should be able to build a profile, update it, keep it up to date, and from that point on, I'll get all the information directly. So you answer all the questions to know exactly who you are and what you're up to and what else is going on. And then you get only the information that's relevant to you. So, and by the way, in a way that you could understand and act upon. Why is this? We crowdsource the data so people actually give us feedback on everything. The result is, and can discuss it among peers, the result is that all the engine and all the system improves over time. You could share with your doctor, you could share with others. So what have people been talking about since we've, are in early access? So these are some of the reactions. People really love us for what we're doing. And Anne-Marie Tesserella, for instance, where are you, Anne-Marie? Hey, say hi. Anne-Marie discovered us and wrote this great blog post about us. She coined the term, step aside Dr. Google, enter MedAdvisor. And we love you for that, Anne-Marie. But Anne-Marie is no longer alone, and many others have, bloggers and influencers have discovered MedAdvisor. And what I'd love to see that anybody that wants this service could actually have access to it. Because the idea is that you shouldn't be looking for information. Information should be coming to you. So just back to Lena, and I'll close. This is Eli. Lena decided to go ahead and, of course, deliver Eli. Afterwards, she started chemo again. And Eli is now 1.5 years old. She continues to look at and use MedAdvisor in order to understand any new information about chemo brain and about other things. Now, before I get yanked completely on stage, think about how anybody you know might want to use MedAdvisor. Thank you very much.